Hi guys, this is Dr. Divya Pradhan and we are continuing with our earlier presentation, which was animals and how they evolved the invertebrates. So if you remember the last presentation, we stopped at phylum Cnidaria, after which the next phylum that we are going to talk about is the Platyhelminthes. So the Platyhelminthes, these include the flatworms. So platy, the word platy means flat, and the word helminth of course means worm. So of course, as you can see, they are flat, but what are the other characteristics? One, for the first time we are seeing bilateral symmetry. Cnidarians have radial symmetry, Platyhelminthes have bilateral symmetry. Two, we are going to have three germ layers, three body layers, ectoderm, endoderm, and a mesoderm. And for the first time, we are not going to have a tissue level of organization, but an organ system. So not only are we seeing organ, but we are seeing organ system of organization. All right. Now, some of the flatworms are of course non-parasitic. Example is planaria. This is planaria in front of you. But the others are going to be parasites. But whatever the case may be, they are bilateral, three germ layers, they have organ system, and one more that I forgot to add, however, they are acoelomates. In other words, they do not have a coelom. A means no. So right here, as you can see, here is the excretory system. They have special cells called the flame cells, and these flame cells form a very primitive excretory system. The reproductive system, they are hermaphrodites. So let me write down this word for you. So they are hermaphrodite. That means they have both the ovary as well as the testes. So they have self-fertilization. They also can have cross-fertilization. That is, one planaria with another planaria have a cross-fertilization. Nervous system, very primitive. They have a ladder-like nervous system. There are two lateral nerve cords, and these are attached or joined by ladder-like transverse nerves. Your book says brain, but really it's not a brain. It's a very primitive ganglia. Ganglia is nothing but an accumulation of nerve cells. So they have a very primitive nervous system. And what about sense organs? They have eye spots as well as auricle, very primitive sense organs. Nevertheless, they have not only they have gone beyond cellular level of system, as you can see in sponges, tissue level of system, as you can see in cnidarians. Finally, out here we have organs as well as we have systems. Finally, we are right here with the flatworms. Talking of parasitic flatworms, you are very familiar with this. Here is a tapeworm, and the tapeworm, if you see the structure of a tapeworm, it has a false head. This false head is called scolex, and then it has false these are segments, and these false segments are called proglottids. These are not true segments. Okay, so here these are called proglottid. The scolex has suckers and it has hooks. So these hooks and suckers will help it attach to its host. So let's see the life cycle. So for the life cycle of Tinea solium, which is the tapeworm, there are two hosts. One is the human host as well as the pig. So the human host is the primary host, and the reason is because it has sexual reproduction. The parasite has sexual reproduction in the primary host. So here the worm is a hermaphrodite, and there's usually only one worm. It lives, of course, in the intestine, and therefore reproduction takes place. The eggs that fill the proglottid, they are released, they're passed through the stool, and immediately, of course, they are eaten by the next host, that's the pig. Inside the pig, the eggs hatch, as well as the larvae. What it does, it penetrates the intestinal walls, and once it penetrates, it forms a cyst, it develops a wall, and this is called a cysticercus. So this larva, which has a cyst, it has a thick wall, is called cysticercus, and it will host itself in the muscle of the pig, of the secondary host. And of course, when the human ingests in undercooked or raw contaminated meat, then what happens is the cyst is ingested, and in the stomach it is of course going to hatch because of the acid in the stomach, and once it hatches, it'll come out of a cyst, that means it'll excyst and will attach and will develop into the adult worm. As you can see here is the adult worm. Okay? The next flatworm that your book talks about is the fluke. This is the blood fluke. Now the blood fluke, here the male and female the sexes are separate. So the sexes are separate and they're dimorphic, meaning to say that the male and female look different. Here's the male and here is the female. They look different. So both the sexes are separate and they're dimorphic. Dimorphic means that the male and female look different. So of course, the male and female are a blood fluke, so of course they'll be found in the blood. But what happens is after copulation, that means after transfer of the egg and the sperm and fertilization, the female, what she does is she will migrate to, I can show you the life cycle here. So the female migrates to the large intestine and releases the eggs. The eggs are passed out. Here is the egg. The eggs will hatch into the first larvae, which is called the miracidia. The miracidia is taken up by the secondary host, that is the snail, freshwater snail. The snail, what happens? Inside the snail, the larvae are going to reproduce asexually and form the second larvae, which is called cercary. The cercary, what it does is it is going to penetrate through any, remember this is living in water, so water, so any human being that comes and immerses their body in a stagnant pool of water, this cercary is going to penetrate. Once it penetrates, it will enter the bloodstream and the life cycle of the blood fluke, schistosoma sp, will continue. Sometimes it also attaches itself to vegetation, or what happens, develops in the lung and liver of some other animals like the fish or crustaceans, and again once it's ingested by human beings, it will develop. So okay, so with this we come to the end of our presentation. Remember, if there are any questions or concerns, please contact me, and I thank you for listening to this presentation.